Sound test. Sound test. I'm guessing this will work. So this I wrote in the night. I'm not even sure what's going on here. So the compassion timeline has to be all in sync. It's leads to self-awareness or higher self-awareness. This place is supposed to be a continuous step up. Spirit and consciousness kind of are at an interplay. They never truly, fully synchronize. I mean, they do, but not in this place, if you will. Or if you will, in this place, that's the moment of extraction where all is revealed. And in that way, this place is kind of like a time delay, loss of sync or desynchronization system that we can do things in. In other words, it's like a spiritual delusion system that everything that happens here is outside of the realm of your true self in varying degrees, kind of like you're slingshotting backwards and then forwards back in time to the present. And as far back you go, you're in more delusion. And, as long as you're behind your back, you're in some form of delusion. And then the further back you go, the more that delusion deviates from the realm of, your current potential or present potential. There's a boom in the way. And so then ultimately, the fallen ego seeks rebellion from the Most High, which is basically the ego is developed through trauma. It's developed the kind of resistance to the awareness of yourself or the world in a way, and this develops early on. You know, if your children are awakened by the traumatization of fear, then they have that rebellious ego which seeks to displace the Most High, which is their sense of self and continuity and wholeness, their true vision, their spiritual reflection of their energy back in time at them so they can see everything that they are. Now, if they were raised in the spirit of nature, with like sage burning and walks in the woods and stuff like that, they're going to have that essence of interest, but not in the sense of untempered curiosity, but a communion, a relationship with all that is. And, when things happen in life to people who are given that opportunity, they can deal with it. When people are not given that opportunity because they're kind of grown up in a system that's so rigid, designed for rebellion, or, purity, but false purity, if you will, which is just tyranny, it doesn't help. It locks people in, and the only way that it helped is laterally. Okay, when we were all two-dimensional beings, the more one had ego, it was like a stepping stone to get something higher. Now that we're all 3- and 4-dimensional beings, we each have our own ego, and you egotize yourself. If you want somebody to fight, you fight yourself and make yourself stronger through that. It's no longer horizontal, it's top down, and you're now kind of, it's on you to right yourself. Now, if somebody's wants help, okay, well, have fun. But somebody needs help, it's your kind of duty to get enough people aware and enough people convinced that something can be done. The fear is basically the loss of joy. It's our frozen ego back in time in an unmanifested, out-of-phase polarity or out-of-phase synchronization reality, which is literally made up like the magnetic fields of the planet, or a huge straighter. I can't think of the word right now. Like the motors and the windings, the coil windings of the field. The false realities are as numerous as those magnetic entangled lines and emotional entanglements, because they're the possible delineated, not real, false realities of the neurons and psychological discontinuous broken reality relationships and connections within each other that are entered into the grid by broken humans that have been in this place. And this place became a broken human facility, so it's a big deal, if you will. But the mechanics behind it is cool. They're back in time, and they can't see that they're back in time. It's a perfect system. The more one goes into hate, fear, and rejecting the truth, the further back in time they goes, and there's a time cocoon, like a time tunnel that locks them out of the present, but it's their own self doing it, because that gatekeeper at the end is actually a crepuscular illusion, a hallucination, a reflection on the mirror of themselves seeing beyond the looking glass that they can't let themselves get through. And it's like seeing themselves leave the prison they made for themselves pisses them off more than anything. And so, but as well, there's two mirrors, meaning you look forward or backwards. And one way is the fall if you continue on that path and go further and further down this darkness. And one way is the Most High if you just be who you are. But it's not being because it's not in time, it's always. And so how to get there? Well, relax, that's the point. You're already there, and anything you do is making more of it, and so then stop doing that, and eventually that'll happen. But that's the point. And so then the hate and the fear, it's a regressive, it's their consciousness regressing back to moments in history where unclean DNA entered itself into their genome, which before this shift was known as the fall, and it was basically a genetic, it was like a, this is like a genetic experiment, we'll call it that. And so then, I need to get a drink of water. There's a threshold of love, which is actually a threshold alive, and one regrows through something. I guess pain. I don't know. This part was jumbled with that part, but it goes down into that. Upon realizing this, some people said, let's just stay here forever and make a fake Earth that goes backward in time, leading to nothing, and we'll rule over that as long as possible. The idea is this is akin to being on the surgery table, and you go this way in time, and the surgery goes longer and longer, and there's more complications, and you go this way in time, and the surgery completes itself, and you get up and go to your new world. You can't play games with that because it's as serious as a surgery on the table. Now, if there was some plan to, like, we're going to introduce this here, then this is going to be stronger, and that's going to be that, that's fine. But that has to be followed through entirely and not half-assed, because that little bit of half-assing it led to the ego playing on and pretending that role like that false tyranny is real, and now they actually think they're real, and now for them to get free, they have to take away everything that they thought they owned and have, and it's an illusion, but guess what? That's the ego game, and they just set themselves up for a really, really good one. So, but the idea is that in that false artificial world we're dealing with now, because they existed in a digital architecture that was interfacing with our fields selectively through just horrific moments of ritual abuse and those who owned the tech, which were basically the wealthy elite. The hell is a collective of the fallen, the hateful fallen that get stuck in the artificial earth that's being pumped out 2 times a second by an AI repeater, which is trying to convince you to have a false copy reptilian brain filled with hate and no spirit, acting out in a complex mutation of fear to do, nothing happens. That's the big secret. It's like, well, and then what? And nothing happens. There is no great, like, underworld, this, that, and the other. It's just a bunch of bullshit going on in a bunch of bullshit fucking realms. And that's why dudes, white hats, literally can dress up in suits, walk down from the higher dimensions, go into the caves in the underground basin and say, you have 1 year, and then fucking disappear, and shit started like that. You know, angels come in different forms. And so yeah, then the other side, the spiritual earth, is pretty much, I missed all that, the digital earth and artificial, hate, blah, blah, blah. The spiritual earth is compassionate. There's no hate or no false hate. There's no ego beyond spirit, meaning everything you are, everything you have to say, damn, that's me, that's cool, whatever, it's to the Most High because you didn't do it on your own. And if you did, then you did what you did, and someone else probably helped you because that's how things work. At least here, it's sincere and something. Anyway, and so then the weird part is kind of the time loop, and if we're in a time reversal situation where death is basically being reversed, not taking that seriously and being like, oh, well, we can just do this forever. They made a time loop. It goes deeper, but that's part of it. Create bubbles within bubbles that have to be broken, and each one is like an eternity to get out of and build up the energy. But it's a problem because we're not going to gain that reserve afterwards because we're in an underworld membrane that doesn't have the same continuity of our universe, and we'd have to destroy universes to do it. They set up a war of all wars for the fun of doing it because that's not how it happens. They thought they were doing it, or I don't know what they were doing. They were playing God. You don't do that unless you can also play the devil, and they apparently aren't good at that either. So Westgate's electrifying. So, you know, they were so low in energy that 666 protocol that if they tried to enter the gate, it would immediately burn up all their atoms and their DNA. They'd watch their friends just explode into fire and flames and sparks. They're like, damn, this is evil. This is the end. The only thing we should do ever is just be more evil. So that doesn't make sense. Don't do that. It's not even true. It's not how it works. And then the north gate, which could be the south gate, depending on how warped your mind is in this place, basically leads out of the loop. You don't go around the circle of the loop, you go up. That's the whole point, which is kind of like leaving your shell behind. You don't have to eat through it. We're not dinosaurs. And compassion is the source, center, mitigator of the realms. You see, they started up here and said, all right, well, we're going to have this. And then as a result, they were up top. This is a false Most High, so the Most High said, I'll stay here in the middle. Children, you go above me. And he exalted us. For every millions of years they ruled, we were exalted because the system was flipped. Now, compassion is the gate that they reunify through. However, I'm not sure how this system works. Basically, this is propped up by their bullshit. This is propped up by the Most High. They can't keep up their bullshit in accordance with that. So eventually that bottom system is going to drop out and it's going to do something different. But as well, if that system doesn't drop out but just simply the power is shifted, then they both can be basically glorified. And that's pretty much what's supposed to be happening now, as long as last little bits of greed don't ruin the party for themselves. Because everybody else already made it. I have to fix the other. Maybe I'll just do that.